Life of my life, I shall ever try to keep my body pure, knowing that thy living touch is upon all my limbs. I shall ever try to keep all the untruths out from my thoughts, knowing that thou art that truth which has kindled the light of reason in my mind. I shall ever try to drive all evils away from my heart and keep love in flower, knowing that thou hast thy seat in the inmost shrine of my heart. And it shall be my endeavour to reveal thee in my actions, knowing it is thy power that gives me strength to act. That's a poem by Tagore, and we're going to be talking about purity tonight. Welcome to the Premier Wellness Travel Meditation Sessions, where I offer space and support to breathe, to up our vibrations, and to create connections. I'm Cassandra Marcella Metzger. I'm the founder of Premier Wellness Travel and a certified yoga therapist. And I'm here to guide and teach you about the amazing practice of meditation so that you can use it as a tool during these unusual times. And I'm so glad that you're watching. Thank you for coming. Each weekday at 10 a.m., I'll be here to guide you and to inspire you to create possibility for groundedness, routine, kindness, and compassion. We're doing this on Wednesday evening instead of morning because I was attending a fascinating webinar with the World Health Organization about the pandemic and the virus and its effect on travel. So look for a blog post about all the information that I learned this morning. But we'll be back at it on the regular schedule tomorrow morning at 10. And if you're watching on YouTube, I would ask that you give me a thumbs up for the video and please subscribe. So we're continuing today with the yamas and niyamas, a series we started last week. They're guidelines for living. I like to call them the yoga manners. There are 2 of the 8 limbs of yoga. The yoga poses, which are called asanas, are simply one of 8. So the full practice of yoga is not just the poses. Most people only know the poses. If they know of a second limb, it's usually the pranayamas, which are the breathing exercises, very specific breathing exercises. Meditation is another one of the 8 limbs, but the first 2 are the yamas and niyamas, and they're basically like moral precepts. And in some parts of India and other times, you wouldn't even be allowed to start practicing the poses unless you had demonstrated that you were living this morally upstanding life by following these guidelines. So last week we talked about the yamas again, and those were how to live in the world interacting with others. The niyamas are really how you treat and conduct yourself. And the first one today is called Shaucha, which literally translates as purity. And it's not just purity in the body, with good hygiene and washing and cleansing and oiling. In the case of yoga and Ayurvedic medicine, we do a lot of oiling of the body as well. But also of your environment and also what's going on in your mind. In Latin, in English, the root of the word pure is from the Latin purus, and that actually means clean, unaltered, or unadulterated. So what does that mean today? It means obviously eating whole foods that are not covered in pesticides and are not processed. It means reading books that elevate your thinking or your awareness about the world. It means also being conscious about the type of media that you consume, whether that's news or social media or the types of television that you watch even. It also means associating with people that will nourish your own sense of calm. So gentle people, not difficult people. Iyengar, in his great introduction from Light on Yoga, he talks about how the asanas or yoga poses cleanse and tones the body, how pranayama, the breathing exercises, aerates the lungs and also cleanses the nervous system. And that this niyama asks us to clear the mind so that disturbing emotions like hatred, envy, delusion, and greed and pride sort of dissipate. So for our meditation today, we're going to kind of focus on some of these things. I want you to go ahead and close your eyes and take a nice seat. And let's start with 3 cleansing breaths just to ground us to get started. We'll do the chimes as well to mark the beginning. So take a deep breath in, down into your belly. And exhale. Breathing in again. And exhale. Breathing in. And exhale. So why is purity important? Just as when we have a clean palate, we can taste more vibrantly. When we practice sancha, we can become more alert in our lives. And we can become more aware of beauty in our lives. And we can wake up to more of what's good and valuable, and even wake ourselves up to our own values. So that's really the underlying why. I had a yoga teacher who used to talk about people who didn't practice this as being a walking dead. They functioned through their lives, but without being really alert. So let's start with talking about how we could clean up our diet. In Ayurveda, the sister science, medical science to yoga, with leftovers, for example, we don't simply reheat up the food. We add an ingredient in order to re-enliven the meal, to freshen it, or to cleanse it. And it could be very simple. It could be simply adding one additional herb, or some butter, or a fresh avocado. But we don't ever, in Ayurveda, simply heat up leftovers. Now imagine too that first glass of water that you drink in the morning when you wake up. And do you drink it before or after washing your teeth? Before or after scraping your tongue? Maybe you don't have a practice of scraping your tongue. But the taste of the pure water in your mouth is different if you drink it before or after you do those morning rituals of hygiene. So consider how else you can open your taste buds. How can you freshen what you eat and how you eat even. Take a nice deep inhale and exhale. And now regarding your mind, I would ask you to consider how you can cultivate more joy and delight. For in doing so, you will counteract the thoughts that create fear and despair and sorrow. By making a conscious decision to seek out laughter or to create laughter, you help to banish anxiety and fearful thoughts. The two can't coexist together. And sometimes you really do need to seek it out, because that will help to purify and cleanse your thoughts and emotions. Also consider what it is that you are habitually thinking about. Are you ruminating over the news, over the future? And how can you get off that cycle? Consider what you're reading. Are you reading materials that give you insights or wisdom? Are you exposing yourself to new ideas? Maybe to the beauty of poetry or to fresh perspectives. So this just is asking you just to be more mindful of what it is that you're consuming with your mind. Take another inhale and exhale. And finally, we're going to turn to the environment, your home environment. It's spring, so many of us maybe have the feeling or a desire to do some cleaning. Last week when we were talking about craving, we spoke about decluttering in order to help us deal with the unhelpful feelings of craving and want. This also talks about creating a clean environment, but from a different perspective, in order to create purity in our environment. So maybe the same outcome, same action, but for a different kind of rationale. Again, because by creating spaciousness in our homes, we get to appreciate more purely the things that we have kept. Practicing Sancha requires us to make choices about what we want in our house and what we don't want. What we want in our minds and what we don't want. And also what we want in our hearts and in our feelings and what we don't want. And in doing so, we can live with more awareness, more enunciation, and with more vividness. And that's why this niyama of purity is so helpful for us to live a more full expression of ourselves. To not be one of the ones walking around, as my yoga teacher put it, being one of the walking dead. You can go ahead and open your eyes. thank you for coming, and I will see you tomorrow for the second niyama. Namaste.